What is up, A-Team? Welcome back. Awesome here. Hope everyone's having an awesome day. So yes, I'm here to talk about probably the most talked about subject in crypto, and that is the 60-minute interview with CEO Brad Garlinghouse. And I just want to sort of give my first thought on it because there has been a lot of things swirling out there from it was a great interview, that there was a hit piece, all this kind of stuff. And I just want to sort of give my first take on it. And I just want to say that I thought that Brad Garlinghouse did a fantastic job for Ripple, for XRP, and the cryptocurrency space as a whole. I thought he answered the questions perfectly. His demeanor, the way he came off, everything was great. I hope that he actually goes on to other podcasts like a Joe Rogan podcast to explain sort of the ins and the outs of everything that was not talked about in the 60 minute. You could definitely see that 60 Minutes came in with an agenda. Margaret Brennan came in with an agenda to sort of dog the cryptocurrency industry. And at first, we were talking about this on stream about, is this going to be a hit piece? And I was kind of like, you know what, maybe let's give them a chance. Like maybe it won't be a hit piece. Maybe it will allow people to see what cryptocurrency is and how it's impacted a bunch of people's lives and all the technology involved with it. Well, I just want to be the first to say that that was not what this was about at all. This is actually a complete attack on how money came in, and it was crypto industry fueled election, and talking about voters and how they were influenced. It was about the exchanges collapsing like FTX and SBF. It was about John Reed Stark coming in here and saying his opinion, and how Gary Gensler and the SEC thinks that crypto is basically still a scam. And it was kind of just, like I said, a little bit of a hit piece. So as much as I took away that I thought Brad did a fantastic job, the more you digest this interview that Margaret Brennan did, the more it's kind of disgusting in a way how much of a hit piece this was on crypto. I didn't want to say that. I was trying to be, I was trying to think above that. I was trying to maybe even give 60 Minutes the benefit of the doubt. But after going back and reviewing it and going through and getting my facts, it's 100% that's what they were trying to do. They were trying to paint crypto again as this horrible place where everyone gets scammed. And unfortunately, that's just a sad thing to say. But it's like, what else do we expect from the mainstream media these days? And this is like a perfect example of what the mainstream media is. It's honestly the worst thing I've ever seen out there. Like I will never watch 60 Minutes again. I tell you the truth, this is the first 60 Minutes I've watched. And I couldn't even tell you last time, maybe 20 years. I don't even know. Back when my grandma watched it, I couldn't tell you. But this just goes to show that CBS and 60 Minutes needs to go. They are not a benefit to anything. They don't even ask a lot of questions. And I was just, like I said, really, really disappointed. So with all that said, let's actually get into the facts. Let's jump into sort of what was discussed on here. I do want to go through exactly what was discussed and some of the topics and things like that, and then we'll give some reactions to that because I think people sort of just want a quick video on what was discussed and some reactions to it. So that's what we're going to do. So let's jump right into it. So obviously one of the first things they talked about was the election. They talked about how the crypto industry influenced the election through Fairshake. So Fairshake was a PAC that was created strictly for going after candidates that were pro-crypto. And they created this thing called Just Stand With Crypto. And this was basically where you could log in and you can actually track all of the candidates that were pro-crypto and basically any statements that they made. And so they would grade them based off of how good they were or how they spoke about crypto. And so you could go in there as a voter and you could actually go in and see what they were all about. And it was kind of a cool little thing. They wanted to sort of give off this vibe. 60 Minutes wanted to give off this vibe that they basically rigged this, this PAC went in and rigged this election by using their money to persuade voters. When it came to elected people in Congress, 33 of the people were actually Democrats, 29 were Republicans, and about 85% overall that the PAC used money on actually got a seat in the House. And so it's kind of crazy when you think about that. So you can see that this is actually pretty even down the middle. You have 33 Democrats that were elected and this PAC donated to, and you had 29 Republicans that were also donated to through this PAC and made it into the House as well. So it's pretty much divided, but they were saying that this helped influence a lot of the election. During this, any of the ads that were put out there with these candidates, nothing was talked about crypto. So, it was sort of this funny argument that, hey, you're using this to influence voters, but there was nothing in the ads that actually influenced the voters. Brad Garlinghouse was saying that, hey, don't underestimate people out there that want new technology, because it seems like they were trying to say, 60 Minutes was trying to say, like, hey, these voters were persuaded in some way. And he's saying, no, I just think people want the crypto technology. They come in all shapes and sizes. And, they come from electricians, plumbers, nuns. He goes on a list of things that are crypto voters out there. It's not just a certain group of people. And one of the crazy things that 60 Minutes did was try to paint crypto people as people that are against the government, that are against institutions, that are against, anything trying to hold them down. And that's just not the case. I just think people were sick and tired of the SEC holding this industry down, taking away rights, debanking people because of crypto. And it's people like John Reed Stark, who is obviously the mouthpiece for that of Gary Gensler, who came out here and actually talked about how crypto is still a scam. He still believes it's a scam, and he believes that it should not be allowed in America still today, even after everything we're going through, even after all the ETFs and everything like that. John Reed Stark actually came out and said that he still believes it's mostly used for criminal activity, which is just crazy to me. He doesn't see the big picture of how this can actually evolve in the technology side of things. And so this was really centered around that. It was centered around election. It was centered around who was actually voting for this. And then they kind of painted the picture that anyone that voted in favor of this, even though this is now a mandate, which I'll give John Reed Stark some props here, because he actually came out and said, yeah, the American people put a mandate out here that they want crypto to succeed in America, even though he does not want that. So I'll give him that, because that is true. The people went out there and voted for this, and they want that. They want there actually to be regulations. They want there to be frameworks for crypto. They want crypto to succeed. And you can see that because a lot of people went out there and voted. And like I said, 85% of the people that the Fair Shake PAC invested in actually won their seats. And so right there that the people were standing behind these people, and that's why they voted that way. Also, one thing I thought was super important is that he talked about how the SEC has done everything in their power to not put in any regulation. He was just basically saying that we haven't been asking to be deregulated. We've been asking to be regulated. And so I think it's super important that we actually emphasize that. He says, just give us clear rules of the roads. That's all people want. So they sit here and say that we're going to call this a scam, and we're going to say that it's for, drug dealers and all these crazy things. But they've done everything to not actually regulate this. They've done everything in their power to deregulate it into some fashion, which is, again, kind of crazy to me. But it was nice to see Brad Garlinghouse talk about that, because you have people like Brian Armstrong, who has come out and said, hey, we want there to be framework. We want there to be some regulation so we know what we can and can't do. Unfortunately, the SEC, Gary Gensler, John Reed Stark, and all of them refused to do that. And so another thing that he talked about was just the emergence of technology and how a lot of people in America want there to be emergence of technology. I think a lot of people that went out and voted for in pro crypto spots all came out and were like, hey, we want technology to evolve. And he said there are big skeptics. There were big skeptics during the dot-com boom, during the when computers came out. And he thinks that anytime a new technology comes out, you're going to have people who are going to talk about this and not be happy about it. And still to this day, even on my live streams, you have people come in and they're dogging crypto, and they're a little bit bears about it and things like that. But again, this is an emerging industry that I don't think people have fully grasped what actually it entails. I think where I really thought that this became a hit piece is when they started bringing up Sam Bankman-Fried and the collapse of FTX. And they compared it to basically everything in crypto. Is that, hey, when you think crypto, think FTX, because that's exactly what's going to happen. And I thought that Brad did a really, really good job in saying that, hey, just because one person did something wrong doesn't mean that everyone else is. And he actually came out and said, are we going to go and say that any Bernie Madoff people out there, considering he was a bad CEO and did what he did, that every CEO should be held to the same standard as Bernie Madoff? And I thought that was actually a good response, because it's basically saying that, just because Sam Bankman-Fried is horrible and did what he did, that we're all of a sudden going to look at every CEO across all of crypto as the same. And that's kind of what they did. They kind of painted it as that, hey, everyone in crypto, every company out there in crypto is like a Sam Bankman-Fried, so you should be weary of that. And again, that's kind of what the SEC has painted. That's what 60 Minutes painted. And I think at that point is when I realized that, yes, this is exactly what they wanted to do. They wanted to paint this bad picture on crypto to, I guess, put a bad taste in some people's mouths, make it not as popular as it is. I don't know what it is, but it was definitely not the greatest look for 60 Minutes to do that, because that's not how it's looked at. And I think a lot of people are starting to see through what 60 Minutes was trying to do here. But that's really where I said, you know what, enough of this. This is purely a hit piece on XRP, on the whole crypto industry. And at that point, I think I was done with the entire thing. But I think the highlight of the night is after everything was said and done. You had John Reed Stark out here saying his opinion on things. You had Margaret Brennan, who obviously had her agenda and what she was trying to push with trying to make it look like Fair Shake was a pact that was used to really just influence the election as much as possible. And I don't think that Brad actually was like, I think Brad was pretty upfront. He's like, yeah, that's the whole point of it, was to go out there and seek people who are pro crypto and help provide money to them to get into positions that they are. I mean, I guess that's kind of what a PAC is. I mean, every party has that. And again, this was for everyone. This wasn't just like one sided. It wasn't like we were all seeking Republicans here. They were also seeking Democrats. Actually, there was more Democrats elected through this than there were Republicans. So you can't say it's one way or the other. It was actually pretty bipartisan for the most part. But again, I think what comes out here, and I think this is what sheds light on why 60 Minutes refused to act as true journalists here. And so Brad Garlinghouse decided to come out here on Twitter and put his thoughts after this aired, because he was pretty disappointed with some of the things that actually didn't get aired. Because as you guys know, it was roughly about a 25 or 30-minute interview, and then that was pretty much done. And so he said that although in 60 Minutes, there was actually 90 plus minutes of just straight talking to Margaret Brennan. He said, when discussing the SEC's misguided lawsuit against Ripple, 60 Minutes shockingly left out that the federal judge ruled that XRP is not a security. It says Gensler Shield, John Reed Stark knows better, despite his comments that 60 Minutes chose to air. And again, if you go back in and you watch this, they're basically saying that XRP is still a security. And that's what he means by that she left out the whole Judge Torres coming out and saying that XRP is not a security, which again, to me was kind of crazy to think, because now you've sort of left people out there that have no idea what crypto is, have no idea what XRP is, and they're still thinking, oh, it's just another security because that's what the SEC is telling us. So I would agree with him. That's kind of crazy that they did not choose to air that, even though they discussed it. He said, lastly, to say that crypto has no utility is exactly what the naysayers said about the internet in its earliest days. That is nothing more than illicit activity. How vastly they have been proven wrong. Today, even JP Morgan is coming around on blockchain. Conveniently, 60 Minutes also failed to mention that Ripple is doing billions of dollars of KYC transactions for our institutional customers, leveraging XRP to move money cross-border more efficiently than traditional payment rails. And in this interview with 60 Minutes, she actually brought up Jamie Dimon and said how he is against crypto. And so it's funny that he actually pushes back here and says, no, it's funny that JP Morgan is coming around on blockchain, because you have Margaret Brennan over here with John Reed Stark, who is saying that, Jamie Dimon doesn't believe in crypto and thinks that it's a scam. Yet you have them using a blockchain. You have them actually dealing in transactions with Ripple right now. So it is kind of crazy that they refuse to actually put that in this interview to show or shine light on it, that it's not what they say it is. And so, unfortunately, that's where we're at with this. We're at this point where, again, the mainstream media continues to fail the American people on giving them really what this is about. And again, they kind of go out there and they put a bad name for a lot of what crypto is, I feel. And I do think that 60 Minutes did a disservice to the crypto community, because, again, I think that they were very biased in what they were trying to do. And obviously it was, like I said, a hit piece. But again, these are just my opinions. This is just one small glimpse to what really happened behind the scenes, as like Brad said here. I hope that someday he actually goes on to some kind of podcast, like a Joe Rogan podcast, and lays out exactly what Ripple and XRP is, because that's really what matters here the most. And so maybe that day will come. But let me know your thoughts. What did you guys think about the interview? Do you think that it was a hit piece, or do you think that you were okay with it? Leave your comments down below. Make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. With all that said, we're out.